Take a moment to ask yourself these questions. You are valuable because there is no one else like you. If you are comparing yourself to others, then you are doubting your uniqueness. Many of us have similarities, but at the end of the day, you are you, 100%. Let's talk about it. Hi everyone, this is Renee and welcome to the first episode of Renee Talks. So in the beginning of the video, there were questions that popped up on the screen. And the first one asked, who are you? Now, in the natural sense, we may get our identity from our name, our parents. Sometimes you hear people say, I am my mother or I am my father. Sometimes we'll get our identity from our upbringing and even the area that we grew up in. And we will look at those things and then we will have a sense of, this is who I am, right? And that makes sense. And it's very real because those experiences in life that we have with where we grew up, it begins to create and shape our personalities and even our character. So those things, again, in the natural, make a lot of sense and they're very real. Nothing wrong with it. When we look at the type of work that we do, like our jobs, what we're doing every day, a lot of times we will get our identity from that. So if you're a banker, you're a teacher, you're a food service worker, you're thinking about what you're doing at those jobs as that is who you are. Naturally, you're going to say, I am whatever that type of job is, because that is what you're doing. And what you do for a living sometimes can become a part of your identity, which you will say, this is who I am. Now, even our birth signs. Now, that's another thing. Some people are so heavy into astrology that they will even gravitate towards that to say that this is who I am. If their sign is a Leo, they'll say, well, I am a Leo or I am a Libra. Because usually in that, there's a lot of characteristics and traits about people of that sign that they go by in the readings. And so they'll go into that mindset that I'm a Leo, this is who I am. This is how we do it. And it just, again, becomes a part of a person's identity of how they see themselves. Now, our circumstances in life, our experiences in life, those, if we're not careful, we can allow those things, if we let it, to define who we are. Now, although those things happen that will create a sense of our being, those things still don't define who we are. You can go through hardships. That does not define who you are. Even on the brighter side, where you have wonderful experiences, that does not define who you are. Because when you weigh it all out, those things are just things or their experiences. And even though, again, they can become a part of us and create a lot of things within us and how we move on this earth, if you strip away all those things, who are you really? Okay? So now let's look at the spirit. Now our spirit is within our bodies. This body that we live in is just a house. It is flesh. It houses who we really are. Because when we exit this world through death, that spirit remains. It just changes form. This body, however we leave this earth, we don't even get to take it with us. It goes into the ground or however we leave here. And what's left and what remains is our spirit. Even though we can't see it, that is the part of us that's who we really are. Now, you ask yourself, okay, again, who am I? Is it the place that I live? Is it the fact that I have what I have? Is it the people that I hang around? And again, in the flesh, those are experiences. But that does not mean that is who you are. Who you are really is discovered by how you respond to life. How you respond to people and circumstances and situations in life. That is how you define who you are, by how you respond to life. So let me give you an example. Now, we all know that in this lifetime, we all go through things. And I want to make sure that I'm careful to say this beforehand. We are going through things every day, right? Some people are in different levels of certain things in life with ups and downs, and everybody's journey is their own. So when we get to those places where we can say, I didn't do the best today, I didn't handle this situation right, that is not defining of who you are, because this is the beauty of space and time that God gives us. We're on a journey, and we may start out in one place and along the way make mistakes. We'll do things that are not becoming of us. We may say something to hurt somebody, whether it's intentional or unintentional. We are in those processes of the experiences to learn. And the only changes that you should be making is change for the better. Now, there are people sometimes who they just can't seem to get there. And unfortunately, that may be how their life ends. But majority of us, we're working, like we're obviously trying to get in a better place. And that is where we keep in mind that we are in an imperfect world, but that we are working towards perfection and we're striving for it, as the Word of God says. So in that, when you have a day where you not have the best day, or you lose your cool, that those are times for growth, times for you to look back at yourself. Instead of having a negative thought about yourself, you can just say, hey, I acknowledge that wasn't right and how it was, but I'm going to be better next time. And you grow, and you're ever growing and changing to be a better person. So with all of that being said, what I'm saying is that how you respond to life is an indicator and a definition of who you are, even with the mistakes that you make along the way. Because again, the whole point is to grow, to be a better person. See, God already knows our end from the beginning. So as you're going on this journey and you're walking through and you're learning, and you may mess up and you may make mistakes, you are still becoming that person that God has already seen you to be. Again, He knows our end from the beginning. So you start out a certain way, and by His grace, the time and space that we have to eventually come to that person that we already are in as a seed is just taking the time to grow and to bloom into who you really are. And so that's where there's no judgment, and nobody can think that they're better than anybody else or think that they're less than anybody else, because our paths of growth, it is different. Some people are on a faster track than others, but that's okay. So with that being said, let me give you this example. You can take two homeless people, and they're both in a state of being where they don't have the things that those of us that are not homeless have. And they're lacking the shelter, they're lacking the ability to provide for themselves, and so they're having to beg for things. Okay, so you can take one homeless person and you give them $1. They will take that dollar and they will be so appreciative of it that you would think that you had given them $100 by the way their response is. And I've even met a homeless person or two that has prayed for me. And a person could sit back and say, how can you pray for someone when you're in such a state where you don't even have a third of what I have? But again, that person is not allowing where they are to define them or to make them be in their mind something based on, or something that they're not based on their circumstances. Okay? Now you take another homeless person. Again, they have the same lack as the other person that's homeless. And a person can offer, or that homeless person can ask, can I have, some help? And a person might say, hey, I'll give you some money, but better yet, let me go buy you something to eat. Sometimes the way people respond again is totally coming from their heart. That homeless person can get in a state within themselves where instead of responding with a thank you, they'll cuss you out. They'll cuss you out because really the money that they're wanting from you is so they can go probably do something else with it instead of what you thinking that you're supposed to do, which is to just help them get some food to eat. And that person, again, is in the same state as the other person, but because they didn't want what you were offering, which is a plate of food, they were angry about it, and they can be venomous in their response. And that is the difference between the person who was gracious and the person who was angry and venomous in their response. So again, the same circumstances, but the responses were different. You always have to think about how you're going to deal with circumstances in life by how you respond. And it takes time to think about those things. And even when it's on-spot stuff that's happening, those things, still can come from a place of who you still really are. If someone comes up to you and says something rude and you're not expecting it, again, you're allowed that bad day to maybe say something that you shouldn't say in return. But over time, you get to a place where if someone is rude to you, you can take the high road and you can respond in a way that is not repaying evil for evil. You're just being kind. You may walk away. And being kind doesn't mean you're letting people walk all over you. But being kind means that you can smile and just keep it moving. Because the whole point is am I going to let this person get under my skin? So again, think about how you respond to things in life, which is how you will understand who you are. So some time ago, I saw an episode of Oprah Winfrey's show. And she had said a saying or a quote that it may have come from her, but I think it was something that she was quoting that someone else had said. But I remember it as being something very powerful and profound. And the words were, adversity does not make you who you are. It reveals who you are. Because when you think about life experiences, two people can go through the same thing. Yes, there are going to be variations and a few differences here and there, but overall, two people can go through the same thing. And the way both people deal with those things are based on what's within them and who they are in their spirit. You can respond to a situation with negativity, or you can respond with positivity. So again, adversity does not make you who you are. It reveals who you are. And that speaks loudly to the whole idea of who you are. It's not the things that you own. It's not the people you hang around. It's not how you look. It's not how you dress. It's not where you're from. Again, although those things are built into your character and your personality and gives you the grace to move on this earth a certain way, again, if all those things are stripped away, who are you really? The homeless man, again, that was once in a state where he had things and then got to a place that he didn't have, how he responds to life and people who approach him, or he approaches or she approaches, it says a lot about who they are. Because people are not born homeless. They start out with a family just like all of us do, but they become that. And no matter how they became that, how they respond to life about it and people is who they are. And thank God we have space and time to get it right. So the second question asks, how do you see yourself? Now, when you're thinking about yourself, this is not the who are you. This is how you're actually seeing yourself. Subconsciously, we are always thinking about ourselves. We may not realize it, but as we're going through our day, we are thinking about ourselves and how we see ourselves. Sometimes we think about ourselves based on what someone else has said about us, whether it's good or bad. And we can take that energy on and move a certain way based on that. When you get up in the morning, sometimes you're pondering, what am I going to wear today? You're thinking about how you're going to present yourself to the world with the different situations that you know you're going to be in that day, whether it's at your job, whether it's at a family event, whatever is happening, you're always thinking about what you're going to do based on how you see yourself, how you're going to move in those situations. When you are taking on what other people have said about you, if it's a good thing, you can run with that. But if it's something negative, that can put you in a place where you wind up with low self-esteem, and then you'll find yourself acting accordingly. You'll find yourself not being able to take compliments, or not being able to receive good treatment, or being able to just embrace when somebody is truly being good to you. When you see yourself in a way that is like, oh, I'm just, entitled, then at that point, you have an expectation about how people should treat you above what is right. Yes, we want people to treat us good, but you can't get in a place of feeling entitled, okay? So that's not a good thing either. But what you want to do is you want to have a humble spirit, and you want to be able to embrace the good that comes into your life. But again, that is all based on how you see yourself. You don't have to take on the negative things someone has said to you, but unfortunately, sometimes people do. If you don't see yourself as a king or a queen, then you might allow yourself to stay in situations where people are treating you less than that. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to think that you're better than anybody and someone better treat you a certain way. No, what you're saying is that you value yourself, you have respect, and you're able to embrace the respect and the love that somebody is giving to you. And it doesn't have to be a man and woman relationship. It can be in friendships. It can be within your family. You don't have to allow yourself to be treated less than maybe how somebody has spoken to you. See yourself the way that God sees you. God says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. So you have to know that you're a beautiful part of His creation. So you have to see yourself that way, so that when you are walking through life, you can embrace the good, and when the negative comes your way, you can, by His strength, toss it to the side and say, you know what? I heard it, but I don't have to receive it. You don't have to absorb the negative things that people say about you. So when you get up in the morning, instead of having anxieties about who you are because somebody said something about you the other day that was hurtful, wake up knowing that how you see yourself is going to be what carries you throughout the day. And if you remember how God sees you, then that's going to be a jump start to walking through a day that can be as beautiful as you make it by how you see yourself. The last question is asking, are you comfortable in your own skin? Now, that's a very important question because it ties into the first two. When you get up and start your day, are you thinking about not just yourself, but are you also involving other people in your mind? Meaning, are you beginning to compare yourself to other people? So that looks like this. I could wear this today, but I don't know. So-and-so might wear that, and I want to make sure that I look just as good as that person. And I know that's kind of a little shallow example, but sometimes people are always thinking about how they can be like somebody else or be better than somebody else. And you should never compare yourself to another person. You are uniquely you. And you have to remember that, again, there is no one like you. So instead of comparing, get into a place of being comfortable with who you are, with how you look. Again, bettering yourself is always the goal. That's with your inner self, your outer self. You want to make sure that you're always bettering who you are. Because again, when you're your best self, you can offer so much more to the people around you. So instead of being uncomfortable with how you look, like you may, get on social media, that can mess you up right there because there's so much on there that you can start thinking that you're not pretty enough, you can start thinking that you're not handsome enough, or you may feel like what you're doing is not as important because you see somebody else maybe doing the same thing that you're doing on a grander scale. Well, maybe so, but again, are you comfortable with where you are in life? And being comfortable means that you're not settling. What you're doing is you're accepting where you are. and then you build on that, and then you do better in those areas that you know you could work on. So being comfortable with who you are means that you are accepting of yourself inside and out, and identifying where you want to make changes that is as important to you as anything else you could do. You want to be better in who you are. And you do that by making sure that you remember who you are and remembering how you see yourself. And then that way, you can be comfortable within yourself. And again, being comfortable doesn't mean that you're settling. It just means that you're okay with who you are at that time in space, because we're always changing for the better. We should. And we're always evolving and growing. And the support that you have in life makes a difference. And the relationships that you develop in those times in your life where you're growing is going to be very vital. So make sure that you're not around anybody who's going to bring you down and make you feel uncomfortable with who you are. Be around people who are going to help build you up and see the best in you, because that's going to fuel you so that you can be the best person that will bring you to a place of peace and total fulfillment at the end of your life. I truly, truly hope that these 3 questions that I have challenged you to think about, to answer, will really help you. And it's okay to ask these questions periodically, because we do change, we do grow, and we do evolve. Think about these things often and see where you are at different points in times. Journal, because sometimes that helps you to see where you were a year ago and where you are, today. So just continue the process of asking yourself these things, because you're going to be with you 24/7, 100%, day in, day out. You can be around people, and you can move away from people, but you can never get away from you. You will always be with you. You cannot run away from yourself. So always remember your personal view, how you see yourself, and the fact that you understand you have a purpose and that you need to develop it. That is going to be your focus for life, so that you can expand and help those around you. I truly hope you enjoyed this video, and if you found it to be helpful, give it a like and share it. And also subscribe and ring the notification bell for future videos. Thanks for watching.